I am Wild Humphrey, and they call me the Fact Master, because I'll tell you all those things you never knew you didn't know. I'm faster than Google, and everything I tell you is from up here, and that is a fact. Now, King Edward VI, he ascended to the throne on the 28th of January 1547, and what was unusual for him was he was England's first ever Protestant king. He was also the son of the notorious Henry VIII. But on the day Edward ascended was the day that his father died. And a few weeks later, 20th of February, Edward had his coronation. And he was the new king, and he was delighted. The only thing was, he had a lot of enemies, and he was only 9 years old. So he needed advisors he could trust. There was no shortage of them. Just how much he could trust them was another thing. Nonetheless, he reigned. He kept the country a Protestant country. But he was always of ill health, Edward, and just 6 years into his reign, he was taken ill yet again, and he knew this time he wasn't coming out of this. But that wasn't his only problem, oh no. He needed a successor, and of course he had no children. What he had was 2 half-sisters, Mary, whose mother was Catherine of Aragon, and Elizabeth, whose mother was Anne Boleyn. These queens had been married to his father, but their marriages had been annulled, making the 2 girls illegitimate. Also, Mary was a devout Catholic, and she had her eyes on the prize. One day she wanted that throne, and Edward knew this, so he carefully wrote his will, and then he changed it on his deathbed. He had to find a successor, and he found a young girl, 16 years old, named Jane. And Jane was the great-great-granddaughter of Henry VII. And Henry VII was the grandfather of Edward VI. So he thought, great, I've got it. As loose as the link was, he had a link. So he knew he had a successor to the throne of England. Also, Jane was very much a Protestant, and that's what Edward needed. She was also very intelligent. She'd been very well schooled, and she'd not gone out like other people had. She'd done nothing but study and learn. She'd actually had a terrible childhood, but nonetheless she got through it. And her father was a good friend of Edward VI, and when Edward VI made this decision, he got all the documentation signed by 102 people, all the noblemen of the land whom he knew, people he could trust. They were all Protestants. They signed this document. Thank you very much. Edward died in 1553 on the 6th of July. And no one was told. 3 days later, on July the 9th, Jane, whose name was Lady Jane Grey, was told by her father, you're going to be declared Queen of England tomorrow. And she was made up. She never thought this had actually happened, but there she was. Next day, Queen. Big announcement. Now, she was only in truth Queen de facto, because she's never had a coronation. And while all this been going on, Edward's half-sister, Mary, had been watching very closely. She raised an army, headed back straight for Lady Jane Grey. And Lady Jane Grey's supporters and advisors and everyone around her disappeared as fast as anything, left her isolated. While her and her new husband were thrown into the Tower of London. She was a bit disappointed because she wasn't the Queen anymore. Her husband was disappointed because he thought he was going to be a king. No chance. Lady Jane Grey, 16 years old. All she'd ever done was tried the crown on. Mary was furious. She was going to get this country, get by the scruff of the neck and get it back to Catholicism. That was what she was doing. She became Queen on the 19th of July as Mary I. Straight away she set about murdering Protestants. She didn't just murder them, she got them, set fire to them while they were alive and let them burn to death, which earned her the name Bloody Mary. This went on for a few months, and all this time Lady Jane Grey was locked in the Tower of London with her husband. Her father became part of a plot against Mary, so he was executed, and so were the plotters. And Mary I thought, as long as Lady Jane Grey is alive, my position as Queen might be under more threat than I even think. So she has to do something about it. So on the 12th of February 1554, she's got Lady Jane Grey and her husband and executed both of them. He went to the gallows first, had his head chopped off, followed by Lady Jane Grey, 16-year-old. She'd done nothing, but she was a threat, and Mary could not have that. Mary herself knew the country were plotting against her because she'd married Philip II of Spain, who was also a Catholic, and he was Spanish. Well, that made the English noblemen, Protestants everywhere, even more furious. So this was a tough time for everyone. Mary's reign only actually lasted until the 17th of November 1558, and Elizabeth, her half-sister, who no one thought would ever be anything, found herself as Queen, and she reigned the longest. But Lady Jane Grey spared a thought for this young 16-year-old girl who had her head chopped off because Mary I didn't like the thought of ever being overthrown by her. She's known in history as the 9-Day Queen, who was executed by Bloody Mary, and that is a fact. Thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll be back soon, and that is a fact. But thanks for watching. Take it.